How many people in here are responsible for marketing within their own organization? All of us. Okay, good. We came to the right place. How many people are the marketing organization or marketing team for their organization? All right, so we have many mighty teams of one. Okay? How many people are part of a large marketing organization within their organization? A couple. Some. Okay, good. What we want to talk about today is just the concept of content marketing. Is it safe to say that the topic of concept marketing has kind of grown a life of its own in the last 6 months, year and a half? How many people would say that you hear about it or talk about it or look at it or focus on it at least once a week? That's not going to change. Content marketing is here to stay, and the idea is, and I'm going to talk about this a couple times, content marketing is not just about writing stuff. It's not just about producing stuff. When you talk to, and we're going to make fun of your bosses a little bit today, some of you are the bosses and do it. Content marketing is an art form. Content marketing is a way to the end result. It's not just putting things together, it's putting things together strategically, it's putting things together logistically, it's making sure that whatever you're putting together gets you to the end result, which is what? Yeah, ideally it's sales. There's steps along the way. We may measure a little bit differently, but that's the end result. I didn't even know I did it. Ta-da! I did that on purpose. So jumping right in. Oh, I'm Chris DeMeo. I lead the business development and marketing teams at EZMarketing. Special thanks. Kelly said hello very quickly. Kelly puts all of our PowerPoints together. She does the marketing for ourselves. She is definitely a content marketing guru, definitely an MVP on our team. In the past, I'm the only guy that got a slide and I got all the accolades and all the great rewards, but Kelly does all the heavy lifting, okay? I get to stand up here, drink coffee, and eat donuts. Some of you may have heard of us, some of you haven't. We're a division of Easy Solution. Easy Solution's been around about 20 years. We're headquartered in Lancaster, PA. Started by a local guy, Tom Malesic, 20 years ago, literally knocking on doors selling websites. Okay? Over the years, we formed two divisions. We have EZMarketing, our marketing division, and then Easy Computer Solutions, our IT division. Okay? I joined the team about 5 years ago when the company was going in the direction of getting away from being just a web development company into being a full-service agency. That's when we started adding team members like you see in the back of the room. Today, what we're going to talk about. We want to talk about the evolution of content. We're going to talk about the shift in marketing and why you need content. Would anyone say that marketing in general is shifting, it's evolving, it's changing? Would anyone say that the sales process, the way people buy, is shifting today?
Yes.
It's different. What's different about it, if I can ask? Anybody?
People are empowered more. They know, they're more educated. They used to rely on the experts, which would be us in the industry. Now they're more, when they're coming to you, they've done numerous research online.
That's great. You looked ahead at the slides, didn't you?
Yes.
You're absolutely, would everyone agree with that? Is today's consumer informed? Is today's consumer educated?
Yes.
Do they need us as much as they have before? If we do it right, yes they do. All right? But absolutely, they know. They don't need us just for the information anymore. They do expect us to supply it, but they expect us to supply it in different ways and let them find it. Okay, great, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But Scott, I couldn't have said it better myself. In fact, I didn't. And we're going to talk about understanding that, knowing that, and capitalizing on that. We're going to talk about building an effective and measurable content strategy. One of the things we're going to talk about, and it's something that has plagued us all for decades, how do you track things? How do you know what you're putting into something is going to yield bigger results? What you're getting out of something is bigger than what you're putting into it. Does anyone ever struggle with that? Does anyone ever have to answer to someone while you're struggling with that? I think we all do. Okay? So let's talk about it a little bit more. When we talk about it, okay, let's start with just what is content? What is content marketing? Okay? Let's break it down. Let's look at content first. The idea of content isn't new. Content has been around for centuries. Content has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. Content actually predates history, written history. And why do I say that? Content started off as cave drawings. Right? Before man had words, they told stories through pictures. Content is a story. After cave drawings, we had the old town crier. Anyone ever watch Rome on HBO? The guy that showed up in the square and he posted everything and he stood up and yelled and talked about it. That was a form of content marketing. That was a form of content. Then we go to stained glass. You look at churches. For a while, churches told all the stories. Churches were the way people communicated. Churches were the way people got the message out to the masses. Then we go to printing presses. Who was very famous for the printing press? Who did a good job with printing years ago, way ahead of his time? Say that again? Gutenberg? You're definitely a history major. Who else? Franklin. I was thinking Franklin. I'm not that smart. I'm not as smart as you. I didn't have those advanced classes. Then we had the radio. Think of the old radio clips. Then the newsreel, all right, made popular during the wars, the early wars. Then there's blogging, which is around today. What's on the horizon here now is going to continue to grow. AI, artificial intelligence. Okay? Big Brother is here. Big Brother is watching. Artificial intelligence is here. And what happens with artificial intelligence every day? It keeps getting smarter. It keeps getting better. It's starting to know things that we didn't program into it. That was the idea. Did anyone hear about a couple different bots starting to communicate with each other? Who was that with? Does anyone know the story of that?
Is that Facebook?
It was Facebook. A couple of their AI bots started communicating, and they were circumventing the programmers where they were just talking. They made up their own language. They had to shut it down before it got out of control. It's only a matter of time. Okay? I don't know if we'll be replaced, but we'll be, pushed down a peg. Okay? So when we talk about it, content in marketing has always existed. And marketing is your story, okay? Your story is always the foundation of your marketing. We talk a lot about, you guys talk about, you always search for, what makes you unique? What makes you special? What is it about you that no one else has, no one else can claim? It's your story. No one else is exactly like you. No one else has the same story as you. And your content is your story. Understand two things. A story that's never told isn't much of a story, right? You can have the best products around, you can do the best things there ever was, you can be incredibly great at business, but if you don't tell that story, what good is it? Equally as bad, maybe worse, is having a great story, putting that story down, even telling that story, but what happens, what's the worst thing that could happen if you've got a great story and you start to tell it? Nobody listens. No one's heard. You didn't get the story out there. So when we talk about content marketing, not to oversimplify everything, but most complicated things are built on very simple things. Content marketing is having a great story and getting that story heard. And getting that story heard in the way that people want to hear it. Not everybody wants to hear a story the same way. Not everyone brings in data the same way. Not everyone brings in ideas, opinions. The way people gather data, gather stories is all a little bit different. You've got to appeal to the way they want to hear the story. People are much more receptive to hearing your story if they want to hear it. And you're putting it in a language that they can understand. Make sense? Simplest concept in the world. We could leave now and be fully satisfied with today. Okay? Let's stick around a little. When you talk about a story, too, story should always answer this question. 3 questions. Who are you? Why should I care? What do you want me to do? Think about that in everything that you're doing. Because what's the basis of all sales, what's the basis of all marketing is, who the heck are you? Why should I care who you are? And all right, what do you want me to do? When we talk about content marketing isn't just doing stuff. Remember what I said, it's not just about producing things, it's not just about writing, it's about a strategic approach to making sure that the content you're creating is valuable, it's relevant, and it's consistent. Okay? It sounds so simple, but are we doing the simple things well? Think about it. When you talk about valuable, what are the benefits? Why do I care about this? What does it mean to me? Is it relevant? Is it interesting? Does it make sense? Is it something I want to continue to listen to? And is it consistent? If you're telling a story, if you're providing me with content, is it something that I can count on? Not just is it right, is it relevant, is it valuable, but can I go back to that well more than once? That's when you talk about a good content marketing strategy. And that's the difference between just producing great content and having a great content marketing strategy. When you talk about content marketing and you talk about content marketing strategy, we all agree that the sales process is changing. We all agree that the way people buy things is different. It's a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more educated, a little bit more frustrating, okay? But when we talk about it, content marketing is not a sales pitch. It's not about you and your products. It's about your audience and what they need, okay? So when we talk about content marketing, here's again a couple good examples. Poor Richard's Almanac. Who created that? Ben Franklin. It wasn't, who was the guy you said? You're too advanced for this class. Okay? It wasn't about Gutenberg, it was about Poor Richard's Almanac by Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin was essentially what? He was a print salesman. He sold print. But rather than just go out and try and say, hey, buy my printing, he produced a piece of content that people found valuable. People looked forward to reading. People shared with their friends, okay? Back in the day, back in the 1730s, he sold 10,000 copies of this. Back in the 1730s, how many people could read? Right? That was quite an accomplishment back then. And he didn't do it, he didn't go out there and get famous by just saying, hey, buy my printing supplies. He produced something that was valuable. So, early adopter of content marketing. Another one, did anyone see the Lego movie? No. Anybody have kids? I had an excuse. I wanted to go see it, but I got to go with my kids. The Lego movie was essentially a great big giant infomercial. And all it did was make Legos cool and show great things you could do. Never once in the Lego movie did they do what though? Trying to sell you Legos. But at the end of that film, they sold, and I've got my notes in here, but I can't read them. They went up in profit. They grew their market by 11% in Lego sales without doing a single commercial, just because of the content in that movie and having a captive audience that got to see how cool it was to look at Legos. So again, it's beyond the sales pitch when you do content marketing. It has to be useful, it has to be educational, and it has to be entertaining. What it can't be is pitchy. It can't be promotion. It can't be self-serving. It has to be about your audience and what they need, what they find important, what they find interesting. So, okay, that's what content is. Why content marketing? Why do you need it? Why is it valuable? Okay? More importantly, who's doing it well? How many people in here are engaging in content marketing actively right now? Good, a bunch of you. How many people would love to do more of it if they had a better grasp of it and how it works and what, okay, good. How many people know that their competition is doing it? Is their competition doing it well? Excuse my back. Content marketing is great, but why do you need it? Let's talk about it. And You can't just do it, you have to do it well. Okay. We talk about content marketing. First question. We're all marketing people in here. Are marketing people crazy? Most likely. But it doesn't mean we're wrong. It doesn't mean we're not doing what we should be doing. If you look at it statistically, how many people B2B, B2B marketers, business to business? How many people business to consumer marketers? Combination? A bunch of us. Statistically, 89% of all people that are B2B marketers are using content marketing. Statistically, 86% of people that are B2C marketers are using content marketing. Of those statistics, 73% plan to continue doing it for next year. Saying, we're doing it, it's working, we're doing it well. What's happening to those that are kind of dropping out between the 89 and 73? Maybe they're not seeing the kind of results that they should be seeing. Maybe they're starting to give up on it. Maybe they better learn a little bit about what it is, because all these people aren't wrong, all these people aren't crazy. So 73% of these numbers continue to keep doing it. Of that too, 83% continue to put more money into content marketing. Now, that money is going to come from one of two places. Either reallocation of existing dollars. I don't know if any of us work under the auspice of, here's your budget, this is how much money you have, you decide how you're going to spend it. Do we have any of those? And other people, it's, look, this is where I need to be, this is what I want to project, this is how much money you need to give me in order for us to be successful. That's great. How many people work that way? We all love to work that way. A few of us. Okay? So 83% see the value of it, they know it's working, and they plan to put more money into it, whether they take from existing budgets or whether they get extra dollars allocated. With that said, is traditional marketing dead? Should you abandon radio? Should you abandon TV? Should you abandon the newspaper? Any thoughts on that?
I think you need to have a combination, because you have the funnel. You need that. There's multiple things going on in that funnel, and you don't know what, people see multiple different things, and it sparks them to come back to you.
I agree. Would everybody agree with that?
I think the allocations have changed, as well as, the money being spent and different.
Yes.
I would agree. Anyone think that allocations have changed? If you had X amount of dollars in newspaper, TV, whatever, now you've got a few more dollars in. I agree with you. Traditional marketing's not dead, and I don't think you should abandon it completely. And I'll say, there's always an exception. For every rule, there's an exception. It depends on how your customers are getting their information, okay? There are certain markets that find types of media more attractive than others, okay? But I would say it's not dead. It should be part of the strategy, but everything that you're doing in traditional marketing should be aimed at what? Getting it to your website, tying it in with your digital, tying it in with your content. It should all be used working together. It should never be considered a standalone. It should never be considered in a silo. It should all be working to get people through the sales funnel. Scott, I'm going to say you're exactly right. I agree. It should be part of a strategy. It shouldn't be your only strategy. My background, I'm about 107 years old. I had 20 years in hospitality. I was in the hotel business for 20 years. Back in the day, in the height of advertising marketing, I worked for the Eden Resort in Lancaster. We had a TV budget of around $200,000. And we just spent that, and that's the way it was, and I thought I was really cool, and local TV stations entertained me, they took me out to lunch, I thought it was great. How much do you think the Eden Resort spends on TV advertising today? Probably not even 10% of it, because it just isn't as effective as it was years ago. So, does it still have a place? Do they still do some things with it? Yes, it's just a little bit different, okay? Today, when we talk about marketing, we talk about content, we talk about how the sales process has changed, we talk about how buying cycles have changed, we talk about marketing changing in general. The old traditional way, we did outbound marketing. We did what we would would consider push marketing, okay? And push marketing is promotional. Push marketing are things like cold calls. Push marketing is banner ads, it's TV, it's radio, okay? It is set up to be marketer-centric. It's me doing what? I'm telling you my story. Tom, I want you to listen to my story. I've got good things to say here. That's push marketing. Does it have a place? You need to be careful how you do it. The way we do it is different. It's still available, but it's shifting a little bit. And more people are shifting away from it. When we talk about outbound marketing, it's kind of an interruption. I mean, I hate to say telemarketer, but think telemarketer. Maybe they're selling something you absolutely need. Maybe it's great. Maybe it's going to solve every problem you've ever had. But what's the first thing you do when that phone rings? There they are. I'm having dinner. My house, I'm always eating something, so it's pretty safe to interrupt at a meal no matter what time it is. But I didn't ask for it at that time. What's different today? People are still looking for information, but they want to gather it on their terms. They want to get it the way they want to get it, when they want to get it. Not when we're ready for them, when they're ready. So that's outbound. Interruption. Marketer-centric. Here I am, I'm ready. Sit up and pay attention, I've got something to sell you. Can it be effective? Yes. Is it the most effective? I'm going to say no. Exceptions, there's always someone who will say, well, I've been doing it this way for years. Probably some people we work for. All right? And it's hard to argue with guys that built a business from nothing, and they built it this way. But the world is changing. We've got to change with it. We've got to adapt. We've got to get better. We've got to improve. We have to give people what they want. What we're looking at today when we talk about content marketing, marketing in general, is inbound marketing. It's permission. It's enticement. It's pull you in. It's I've got what you're looking for. When you're ready to look at it, when you're ready to make a decision, when you're ready to put this as part of the process, here it is. I've made it very easy for you to say yes. That would be information that is informational, educational. These are your blogs. This is blogging. This is SEO. This is having it available, easy to find. These are things like social media. These are opt-ins. These are all tactics, strategies, inputs that are customer-centric. It's about you. When you're ready, I think I can help you. Here's everything that you might need, maybe a couple things extra you haven't even thought of. When you're ready, you take a look at it and you're back to it. That's marketing today. That's effective marketing today. That's the concept of content marketing. Not in your face, not, hey, holy crap, listen to my story, it's going to be good. It's, hey, look, here's a story. This might help you out when you're ready. Come and listen to it. Or, hey, here's a couple things that might help you out in your daily life. You may not know about this, but you may find it useful. You may find it informative. Here it is. Take a look at it. And who supplied it to them? You did. You've gone from being an interruption to being helpful. From being a salesman to being an advisor, a confidant. That's what we should be looking for. And that's the purpose, that's the whole concept of content marketing. I'm glad we stayed around a little bit longer than the first couple minutes. One thing, always remember, nobody wants to be sold to, but people do still love to buy. 91% of people, correct me if this room's a little different, feel that ads today are much more intrusive than they used to be. Would everyone agree with that? And they are everywhere. Subsequently, what are we all doing? We're blocking it out. We're DVRing and we're busting through it. We're buying things that don't require ads. We're watching TV differently. We're listening to the radio differently. We're flipping through magazines. We're going online. We're blocking it. Why? Because we just can't take any more as a society. But if you're interested in something, can you find it in a heartbeat? Can you find it when you want to? Can you look at it at 3 o'clock in the morning if you want And how are you finding it? You're finding it in the way that you want to find it. Not the way someone's pushing it on you, it's the way you want to find it. How do people do it? How do they find out? It's informed consumers. They're doing research. They know what they want before they get to you. I think statistically, 60% of the buying decisions nowadays are done before they talk to you, the merchant, okay? And they do it through content, articles, reviews, buying guides. Think about the old days for those of us who work on the fence. We need a new dishwasher. Hey, we're looking to get a stove. What should we do? And how reliable is that information? She takes that to the bank. Again, we still love Todd. We still need Todd. We still value Todd's opinion, but we've got a whole network of Todds. All right? Sorry, Todd, you're just one of many. Now, one of a million. One thing, too, the social world demands engagement. When we talk about competition, and I'm going to use an example. Does everyone know, who in here knows Mac DeRose? Matt owns Heritage Hills. He's competition for a few of us. He's a friend and partner to a few of us. He's a guy we don't know. Matt owns Heritage Hills, Heritage Golf Course. He owns Avalanche Express, a bunch of things. I worked with Matt years ago, did a tour of duty for him at Heritage Hills and Heritage Hospitality. He told me something back then that was so true, and I didn't realize how true it was until we start talking about the concept of content marketing. So please don't tell Matt I had good things to say about him, all right? But I didn't, okay? I started talking to Matt about marketing his golf course. And I started talking about who the competition is. And, you know, I was a smart marketer. I was identifying it's this course and this course and this course. And you know what Matt said to me? He goes, Chris, other courses are only part of it. Do you know who the real competition is or what the real competition is? Time. Free time. It's soccer. It's baseball. It's spending time with a family. It's dance. All those things. Because Matt saw back then, and he was completely right, it's not just other golf courses. It's all the things that take you away from having the 4 or 5 hours to go play golf. I'm going to tell you that in today's world, in the social world, it's the same thing. You're not just competing with your competition. You're just not competing head-to-head with other people that do what you do. It's not just other flooring stores. It's not just other carpet people. It's engagement. Because you're competing for attention with everyone. You're competing with people's attention for funny cat videos. You're competing with people's attention for their brand new baby, beautiful little kids, Halloween pictures. It's all part of what you're competing for because it's all time related. And in today's world, it's not enough to just have a good story. It's not enough to just say who you are. You've got to be engaging. You've got to be entertaining. You've got to be informative. Because what would people rather do than look at buying your products? Go trick-or-treating with their kids. Play baseball. They'd rather look at pictures. They want to look at the funny cat videos, things like that. So when you're doing your content marketing, remember, it has to be interesting, engaging, relevant. If possible, educational and entertaining. I threw a lot of things in there. I got carried away. I ran out of fingers. You get the point. It has to be all those things. It can't just be good. It has to be great. It has to be interesting. When we talk about content, content is king. And you want to focus on all inbounds. You want to focus on engagement. You want to focus on bringing people to the dance. And you still want to supplement with a little bit of inbound. Okay? Your audience doesn't want to be sold. Your audience wants to know how to get information. They want to be engaged, informed, entertained. Those are the 3 things I was searching for before. Engaged, informed, entertained. How do they do it? How do you do it? You have to create content that is valuable, relevant, consistent. Now, okay, that's what content is. That's how we do content marketing. Why are we doing it? Why is it so valuable? Okay? Who here has ever talked about or has worked on SEO? Okay? Here's the $1 million question. How many years have you been doing SEO? Anyone more than a year? 5 years? 10 years? Has SEO changed? Is SEO different?
Question,
Yes, sir.
somebody that went to this college and had this nursing home in the 1970s, what is SEO?
What is SEO?
What the acronym for?
SEO is search engine optimization. In the nutshell, we're going to talk a little bit more about it. SEO is getting found. SEO is I'm looking for a specific topic. SEO gets me found. And the way we did SEO years ago is a little different than the way we do SEO today. Why? Because it's ever changing, ever adapting. And there's 3 big influencers of SEO right now we're going to talk about. SEO used to be primarily about keywording and link building. It was about, if I'm doing a search, I'm looking for these words specifically. And that's how Google figured it out. And then it would look at, well, how many people think that you're important? How many people like you? That's links, linking back and forth to sites. So that's the foundation of it. It's changed a little bit. So the definition years ago is different than the definition today. Okay? When you talk about SEO, content marketing and SEO have converged. There's a convergence between the two. Okay? SEO is, I want to be found. SEO is, I want to rank for these keywords, and I want people to link back to me. That's standard SEO. Content says, great, you want to rank for keywords? I'm going to write content about your keywords. And I'm not just going to write a bunch of stuff. I'm not just going to write a bunch of keywords. I'm not going to just slap them into something. I'm going to use these keywords. I'm going to use what's important to people, and I'm going to put it together in such a way that it's compelling. I'm going to put it together in such a way that it's relevant, that it's interesting, that it's educational. And then links. I want people to link back to me. With my content, I'm going to create content that people want to share. So not only is it valuable to me, not only did I find what I was looking for, but I'm going to think so highly of it that I'm going to tell Todd. I feel bad that I said he could be replaced. So now I'm going to send some content to him so that it's relevant, it's useful, it's helpful to him. The two are together. You can't do SEO without content, and you can't do content without SEO. Make sense? Why? Because content needs, SEO needs to be found in order to be useful. You can't be found unless you're useful. So the two go hand in hand, they work together. I said there's a couple things they look for. High quality content and link building are Google's top 2 ranking signals. So they want good content and they want good link building, meaning people think you're important and they attach themselves to you. They link back to you. They view you as a resource. Does anyone know what the third factor is? The top 3 factors. Link building, content, third?
Rank break.
Rank rate. Good job, Kelly.
It's almost
Kelly
like
knew
I wrote
that. Almost like she wrote it. Rank rate. It's artificial intelligence. And there's no particular order. I think it could change, okay? Because rank brain, artificial intelligence, basically scans the world, finding relevant content, and attaching it to places where they think it makes sense. Sir?
Yeah, I just read an article about, I think it was the last 2 weeks, about like Siri and Alexa. If you tell them, hey, all right, just use my instruction, find a travel agent in my area, they look for, Siri and Alexa looks for the highest rankings, you know, your content, everything, and brings it up right in front of you, right there, and you have it before you. It's amazing to see that kind of technology coming.
It's incredible. And getting better every day.
Yeah.
Getting smarter every day. Why? Because it's not just limited as to what we teach it, it's learning on its own. Scary. When we have the next session and we talk about advertising, we're going to talk about how you rank and what you have to spend to rank and how the formula is from Google, so we'll go more in depth there. But that's great. Great point.
But it also takes a lot of time to work on that.
It,
Or it's a lot of money to invest to have somebody to work on it for you.
it can be, and it can be time intensive. It definitely doesn't happen overnight when you talk about organic. And whether or not it costs a fortune, I don't know. It depends on, well, here's why I say that.
Well, I just know from my experience and prices that I've
Yeah.
got, in order to try to get somebody to work on SEO,
They're not cheap.
yeah.
The good ones, but here's the thing, and I agree with you completely, and when we look at marketing, and here's, when you hire a marketing company, all right, whether it's us or an inferior company, no, I'm just kidding, whether it's us or another company, any money that you invest in marketing, any money you invest in yourself, in your own departments, should never be an expense.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah, well, I know,
Yeah.
but you have to answer to the board, I understand. It should all be an investment. So it's expensive if it doesn't work. It's a great investment if it doesn't, but it's not cheap. It's not easy. Quality content costs money. Quality link building costs money. Quality SEO costs money. Quality, people putting ads together for you costs money because you're buying their expertise. You're buying their knowledge.
Another thing I just recently read on SEO is Google's now starting to shift a lot of the way that they do the SEO search rankings. I try to stay on top of this thing, but they're, right now I heard they're starting to put a lot more of like reviews as part of your so if you only have like 1 or 2 reviews on some of the most popular review sites, they may not rank you highly. Time spent on your page now is more ranked higher than a lot of even the backlinking that used to be. So a lot of the stuff now with the brain learning or whatever, it's like actually measuring what people are doing and saying about you and actually holding that at more of a higher ranking tool. So
Ranking is huge.
Ranking is huge. Absolutely, because it's all relevance.
So yeah, I mean, like right now we're spending a lot of time trying to get our reviews buffed out and a lot of like trying to make sure that our pages are designed to keep people on the website longer, so that we can show Google that people actually like our content.
Absolutely. There are over 200 factors that Google looks at. All of those that you just mentioned are part of it. And you're absolutely right. And it's not just, they don't have to look at just 1 or 2 words anymore. They don't have to look at just 1 or 2 metrics. It's artificial intelligence that measures everything. And basically, it still comes down to the same thing. It's where does it make the most logical sense for me to send you? And it's just getting a lot more sophisticated how they do it. But absolutely, page views are important, how long you stay on the page. Your reviews are important. It all works together. Reputation is still a big deal. Always has been. Now your reputation is known to the world. Okay, good, great point. Here's what they're looking at too. Websites with blog have 434% more index pages, meaning if you're supplying content and it's useful and people are looking at it, it improves your ranking, it improves your search. All true. When we talk about it too, we talk about why you're using content marketing, the value of it for business. There's a couple things that we look at, a couple reasons why you want to do it. Number one, you want to generate brand awareness. Obviously, people need to know about you in order to do business with you. As an example, anyone ever hear of Dollar Shave Club? Dollar Shave Club started out with a really small budget. They basically put together a video and it went viral. Has anyone ever seen the video? The video itself is, I'll call it a little bit edgy, a little bit fun, it's a little bit wacky, and the guy in there just made his day, and what people loved about it is he got to get up there and say, our blades are effing great, all right? And not everybody appreciates that. Not everybody likes to hear that. But the people that are buying his razors thought that was terrific. And they shared it with their friends. And it was exciting. And it was interesting. And these guys went from a little rinky-dink company to, the company was sold for, they had 12,000 views in the first 2 days, right? Talking about viral. And they sold the company in 2016, you know for how much? $1 billion in cash. Just a guy, quirky guy, had a great idea, great product, but the world is full of great products, but he got it out there. And he got it out there in a way that was appealing to his target audience, which are kind of edgy young men that wanted to do something a little bit different. They wanted to shave a little bit differently than their, I said mom and dad, than their dad. Okay? Hey, I'm not here to judge. So number one, brand awareness. You want to build your audience, you want to drive traffic, you want to drive traffic to your website, and you want to be known as thought leaders. These guys are thought leaders. They weren't just the same old company selling razor blades. These guys were edgy. They were on the, they were different. They were cutting edge. They were appealing to the right audience. The other thing you want to do is engagement. You want to interact, okay? Don't just tell people who you are. Get them in. Let them know that you're like them. Get them to know that you understand what they're doing. Get them to engage with you. Get them to relate to you. The idea of engagement is to build trust, loyalty, and the ultimate prize, brand evangelists. Now, when you talk about brand evangelists, you talk about evangelism. One of two things. Evangelists preach love, or evangelists preach fire and brimstone. Your evangelists can make you, they can break you. Customers can break you. Anyone ever hear of United Airlines? What do we know about United Airlines? What comes to mind first thing? They break guitars? Yep, what else do they do? They reaccommodate passengers. Right? That's the first thing you think of. When that happened, okay, if it happened 20 years ago, what would have happened? They would have blamed the whole thing on that guy and gotten away with it. Oh, I tried to be nice to that guy and he just wouldn't get off the plane. Then he caused a scene, so my security guards had to politely and patiently remove him from the plane. Why can't you do that anymore? It's all on video. It was hard to hide it. And when you catch something like that on video, do you think you're going to share it? Brand evangelists can work for you or can work against you. In this case, brand evangelism was fire and brimstone. It was, oh my gosh, Delta is horrible. Look what they did to this poor man. Rightly so. You can still do good content. You can still have great ads. You can still rank. But what happened to their reputation? What happened to their ridership? Because the world can change in a heartbeat. And your clients can break you, or your clients can make you. Here it is. Who is this airline? Delta. Do you think they're really any better than United? Do you think they ever, re-passenger people? Re-seat people? In hotels, we used to walk people, okay? Not quite like that, though. We never forcibly removed someone from the lobby, okay? Delta Airlines, a couple days after this, no dummies. There were delays on their planes, overbookings. What did they do? They broke out the pizza. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But you have to understand, we're much nicer than those guys. I know you had to wait, Brian, I feel bad, so I'm going to give you pizza. Okay? What did their passengers do? Get the phones out. Are the companies that much different? I don't know. But in the world of content, in the world of evangelism, here's one story about it, there's another story about it. Okay? They delivered pizza on board because they weren't stupid, they got it out there. But what good would delivering pizza have done if no one heard it? No one saw it. You can do great deeds. You can have great products. You can have the best customer experience around. But if people don't know it, it doesn't do you any good. Sir?
Quick question. With those two scenarios, how quickly does the public accept or forget that this occurred?
That's a great
Do
question.
they forget this 3 months from now? 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it a year? How long do they hold on to those positive or negative thoughts?
Great question. The question is how long, what's memory of people, both good and bad? I'd say it depends on a couple things. How egregious the incident was, or how great the incident was, and whether or not the evangelists let it die. It's a big part of it. But let's remember, people do have short attention spans. It's good news and bad news. The good news is, if you do make a mistake and do something wrong, it gets buried. And things keep moving on, and there's always going to be another story, there's always going to be another scandal, there's always Donald Trump tweeting. You can always count on certain things. So it can get buried in a hurry. Subsequently, if you're marketing and you're doing good things, that gets buried too. That gets lost also. So again, I'll say, how egregious is it? How motivated are the brand evangelists, and what are you doing in addition to it? What content follows it? If more bad content follows it, it's not going to die for a long time. If good content starts to follow it, and you keep putting good things on top of it, it'll do better. It's like reviews. What do you do when you get a bad review? Respond to it, Make good on it, do the best you can, and ideally get good reviews on top of it. Eventually, though, the truth is going to come out. If you've got one bad review, it gets buried with good ones. If you've got a ton of bad reviews, we better look to something besides your reviews. We better look to the type of business that you're doing. Because the job you do, your reputation is better than any marketing you'll ever do, or as good as any marketing will do. One other thing we look at too, there's engagement. What was the first one I said? Never mind.
Awareness.
Thank you. Awareness and lead gen. We talked about what's the ultimate prize. We want people to do business with us. We want them to call us. We want them to come into our stores. We want them to come into our business. We want them to fill out a form. Okay? Lead gen. When you talk about it too, it's hard for you to find a more cost-effective way to market and a more cost-effective way to produce results. 62% less cost in lead gen with content marketing. Okay? Example. River Pools and Spas. They had a traditional marketing budget. They spent about $250 grand a year. They spent money on radio, TV, PPC. Thank you. It's been a long day. And it was doing okay. They started to do a little bit of content marketing, and it wasn't self-serving. It wasn't self-promoting. It was simply, hey, we noticed that our clients or our customers have a lot of questions. One of the things they kept asking was, look, how much does a fiberglass pool cost? So they put together a little content marketing strategy. They started answering questions. They started to do outreach. They became the experts on, if you want to build a pool and you want answers on it, you want to go to these guys. Okay? They turned it around and generated $3.5 million in additional revenue by spending about 20% of what their original budget was. Okay? I'm moving a little quickly because I'm aware of time. Ultimately, inevitably, we get the question of, look, Chris, you talk about content marketing, but my brand is really boring. We have people say that, look, you know, Chris, I sell washing machines, or we sell HVAC, or different things, and I don't think content marketing will work for me. Does anyone think that? Because you know I'm ready to pounce on you, okay, Todd? I know, and we've had that conversation, Todd, and I'm glad you came today, okay? I'll say this. There's really no boring brands, all right? There's only boring content. There's only poorly done content. There's only poor engagement, okay? Here's a company you talk about. This is Gate Safety, all right? They basically manufacture power transmission belts and fluid power products. Now, as riveting as that sounds, they may think that they have kind of a boring brand, or they have a tough story to tell, or no one wants to really hear their story. Sometimes it's a story within the story, or the story on the peripheral of the story. And in this case, they made the story about safety, right? Is there anyone in here that isn't concerned about safety? Especially if you're a manufacturer. Especially if you're doing things like power transmission belts, all right? I don't know that much about them. I imagine they could be dangerous, okay? They put together a content marketing strategy. They made a microsite, and they addressed things like safety training, resources to improve safety training, and just general how to improve things in manufacturing. They realized from this a 17% visit to lead conversion rate, meaning that 17% of people that went to their site actually became leads, filled out a form, called them on the phone. Now, with that, those are pretty high numbers. Why? You're generally not casually searching for safety in manufacturing. There's a reason for it. You're looking for content. And remember we said that the content has to be available when you are ready, right there waiting for you? Maybe something happened. Maybe they were doing an initiative. Maybe they were looking at improving safety. Maybe it was a hot topic. It was a board topic. People just got hurt. So when they were ready, the content was right there for them. And they got it in the way they wanted to get it. They got it in an interesting format, and they were ready to put it into play. So the timing was right. It wasn't someone stopping in and saying, hey, you guys want to buy some belts? It was when the need was there, they supplied it, it was available, and they turned them into customers. Okay? 43% open rate, which is huge, meaning if somebody looked at something, they opened it, and 19% click-through rate. So people not only looked at it, they looked at it in depth, and they actually shared it with other people. Now, let's talk quickly about a content marketing strategy, okay? And if everyone would, in your packets, you can take out the worksheets, and you guys can work through it if you want. And we say, why bother with strategy, okay? Why not just create content? And we're here to tell you that content itself just isn't good enough. Good content isn't good enough. Your content has to be different than everyone else's. Your content has to be more relevant than everyone else's. It has to make the most sense. It has to be the most engaging. It has to be the most interesting. How much so? 10 times better than everybody else's if you want it to be effective. Don't be just another player, be the thought leader. We talk about mapping out a content strategy. Number one, what are your business goals? What are your objectives? When you talk about doing content, when you talk about marketing in general, what do you want to do? What do you hope to accomplish? And one thing we want to talk about with content marketing, the goal isn't to be good at content marketing per se. The goal is to be good at your business. The goal is to make money by using content marketing. The second thing we talk about is your content unique? Does it have unique value? Okay? How is your content different from everyone else's? And when we talk about content, we talk about the message, we talk about your story. Your story is the heart and soul of all your content. It's what makes you unique. What do you do that sets you apart from the competition? How do you add value to the needs of your client? Again, when you're doing your content, think about what makes you unique. And more importantly, how does that help your client? What is it that you do that's going to add the most value to the needs of your client? Looking at your own content, looking at your own marketing, ask yourself these questions objectively. Are you doing that part of it? Is your content unique? Is your content speaking to your audience? Is your content solving people's problems? Who are you? Why should I care? Why should they care? Because of who you are. Audience. Who specifically are you trying to reach? We talked about Dollar Shave Club. Who was Dollar Shave Club trying to reach? Young men generally, in their 20s, 30s, people with a little bit of money to spend, people that wanted to do things a little bit differently, people that were a little bit edgy, a little cutting edge. The message that they had spoke to that audience. It may not have been appealing to someone in their 70s. It may not have been appealing to someone 15 years old. It was very appealing to their target audience. Okay? Who specifically are you trying to reach? And remember, your audience is not just a collection of figures, names, numbers. They're people. They're not merely demographics. They're not merely just words on a page. They're human beings. So who are they? What's their title? What are their responsibilities? What are their needs? What keeps them up at night? How do they want to get information? Where do they want to find that information? All goes into your strategy of how to do proper content marketing. Remember, it's who's your audience, what's important to them, how do you find them, and how do they want to get information from you? When you talk about producing content, what types of content do you need to produce? There's many different types of content. We talk about content, and it's microsites, sites specifically for that particular concept. It's how-to guides, it's surveys, it's blogs, it's videos, it's case studies, infographics, ebooks, webinars, okay? Which one's best for you? My guess is it's a little bit of a combination. Rarely do you do one thing that's just so perfect and speaks to such a minute, I'm sorry, I keep blocking your screen, speaks to such a minute audience that you can get away with one thing. You've got to mix the content up, and you've got to get it out there in different ways. We talk about traditional marketing, and I'm probably one of the few guys in America that still reads a paper every day. Okay? How do all of you get information? How do you get news? How do you find what you're searching for? Some of you, it's TV. Some of it's online. Some of it is blogs. Some of it is social media. If you're only using one method to deliver your content, you're theoretically or potentially cutting yourself off of people that get their information in different ways. So try and get the information out there in all ways that your target audience would gather data. Question people ask too, how do you produce enough content? Right? Does anyone ever struggle with that? Oh my gosh, there's a lot of content to be done. You can run out of ideas. How do you do it? Number one, don't be afraid to repurpose some content. Turn existing content into a new format. If you've got something that was an infographic, maybe you can turn it into a white paper. Maybe you can turn it into a slide. Maybe you can add it to a website. We have, give you an example, our seminars become sell sheets, become blogs, become infographics. We try and use content more than once. You guys should too. And curate it. Add your expertise to other relevant content. Don't use it once. Use it to organize it and use it to be a resource for other areas. Okay. How do you find ideas? Anyone here, any ideas on how to find ideas on content? Scott?
Like I get, every morning I get several different subscriptions dealing with travel industry. What's relevant in travel? Like the other day, Key West, open for business. I put that on our social media. That was really well hit because it showed people that Key West in the Caribbean is coming back. Stuff like that.
Great. So read, study, ask, talk to other people in the industry, talk to other people in your organization. Sit down, do a little brainstorming, okay? There's lots of ideas out there. You need to tap into them. Who's responsible for content? So when we talk about content, what kind of content management are you doing? How many of us are mighty teams of one? It's easy to figure out what your role is. It's everything. For those of us who are fortunate enough to have teams, include people in the discussion and determine who is going to do what. Who's going to be the overall strategist? Who's going to be the editor? Who's going to be the writer? Who's going to produce it? Who's going to manage it in the community? Who's going to be in charge of tracking it to see how it works? How much content is enough content? Right? Always a million-dollar question. What we recommend is quality over quantity, and you've got to be consistent. It's got to be something where if you do start to produce content, people have to know that they can rely on you and go back to the well often and always find something to drink. Okay? And what we say is, how do you know the answer? How much can you reliably keep up with that's relevant and high quality? If the quality starts to slip, you're probably producing too much content. If you can keep up the content and the quality and it's relevant, keep going, you're doing it right. And I know we're going through this quickly. Stop me if there's any questions on this. This is helping, again, helping to build a strategy. And then, how are you distributing content? Okay, I created this great content, here it is, we know how we're going to manage it, we know who's in charge of it, how do we get it out there? Make sure you're covering all your bases. There's many ways to get content out there. We use a PESO method to help make sure we cover the bases. And PESO is paid, earned, shared, and owned. Examples, paid is advertising, banner ads, pay-per-click, sponsored posts. Earned are your public relations, your reviews, any blogger outreach. Shared is Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Owned are your websites, your blog, email content. Marketing is not a science, it's an art. But try and add as much science as you can to it to make it as logical as possible. What I say that is, make sure there's measurement. The problem is that very few businesses have tracking in place to be able to equate their content directly to revenue. Sometimes revenue is really hard to trace, and sometimes revenue may not be the only objective, may not be the only goal. What do I mean by that? There's different types of metrics to track. There's brand awareness, meaning, okay, you're doing content, how many people are visiting your website? Has it increased? What are they going for there? You had talked about it earlier before. How long are they staying? Are they bouncing off? Where did they come from? What did they do when they got there? It's organic search traffic. What does Google Analytics say? Are more people visiting the site? Are you noticing a spike when you put content out in there? Are you noticing that they're coming from specific areas? Look for patterns, look for trends. How many video views do you have? What do your social insights say? What does Facebook say? LinkedIn, YouTube, all of these organizations have metrics. Take a look at them and see what it is. Sometimes you can't equate it to, I spent $1 on content and I got $10 out. Sometimes you look at overall health. Okay? Social chatter. Are you getting mentions? Are people in Hootsuite mentioning you? Are there social mentions? Basically, are you getting the word out? Engagement metrics. How long did they stay on your site? Did they bounce off right away? Did they go to other pages? How many likes did you have? How many shares? How many tweets? How many pins? How many inbound links? What does SEM Rush say? What are your comments on social media? Sometimes you can't judge it just by money. Ultimately, you want to do that, but you've got to build this up first in many cases. And don't consider it a loss or a defeat if you don't see the return on dollars right away. You had said it earlier. It's an investment. It takes time. It's called organic for a reason. It grows. In order for something to grow, it has to first be healthy. It has to first be recognized. You have to first be nurtured. You have to water it. You have to take care of it. You have to love it. It's all part of it. And then a biggie, lead gen metrics. How many people are filling out your forms? How many people are downloading a book? How many people are downloading information? How many people are subscribing to your blog? How many people are converting according to Google? What's the automation platform look like? What are you doing to generate leads? That's when you really start to see the health. Coming in the home stretch here, okay? We covered a lot of stuff. Hopefully I didn't hurt anyone's brain. Hopefully we got a good idea or two. What we want to focus on. We want to recognize, let's make sure we're aware of the fundamental shift. The shift in marketing is not focused on outbound. It's not focused on push marketing. It's focused on inbound, pull marketing. How am I going to give you the information you want when you're ready for it in the format that you want to accept it? We want to focus on attracting customers, not by being pushy, not by being loud, but by being useful, by being relevant. And lastly, this is not something you can do sometimes. This is not something you can do just a little bit if you want it to be successful. Make sure when you talk about it, you talk about a strategy. Make it a plan. Make it something that you're working toward. Make sure it's something that you can improve. Make sure it's something you can track. Make sure it's something you can measure. Okay? You want to invest in a strategy, and you want to make sure, too, be honest with yourself. Don't just put out stuff. Put out information that is relevant. How relevant? Not just a little relevant, radically relevant. Make it that much better than everyone else's. Make it exciting. Make sure that you're the company that people want to listen to. I'm tired. Again, I know I threw a lot out. I was happy to hear questions throughout. Any questions at the end of it? Sir?
Yeah, my strategy is a little bit different, being a 501c3 organization.
Okay.
We're looking to get people coming through the door.
Great.
Versus dollars. But they're basically people coming through the door with donations does increase the dollar.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm attacking this from the point that back in the 70s, the railroad club used to have over 4,000 people visit during a year. We're lucky if we get maybe 1,000 to 1,100 people.
Yeah.
We need to turn that around. This club is turning 75 years old, and we're likely to be the third or fourth
Congratulations.
railroad club in America.
Okay.
So
how do you turn it around?
how do we turn it around? That is a big thing, because the past 2 years, having been involved in the railroad club, I've heard people walk in the door, quote, "I didn't know you guys were still here."
Yeah. I would say,
That was a big red flag.
I would say 100% all this applies to you. I would say two things. Number one, 75 years ago, there wasn't as much competition for people's time as there is today.
Exactly.
Number one. Number two, you didn't really need to do a whole lot of promotion even 50 years ago. People just found you because there weren't as much options. I'm going to say that my guess is, and I don't know, I'm not insulting your marketing, I'm not insulting whoever does it.
There is none.
There is none. My guess is that's your problem. I'll tell you that there probably are four or five things you can do right away that'll start to make an impact, that don't cost a lot of money, that can help you get started. I'm happy to talk to you at the end, or you can talk to one of my guys, but one of my team. But you need to start with some marketing, you need to start with some content. My guess would be the first thing you need to do is get started on social media, because you have a very, very niche market.
And this is the first time since the mid-70s that we've done anything like this.
Okay, I'm happy to take a look at it. But my guess is you need to crawl before you can walk. Let's get you started. The good news is we have nowhere to go but up. Right?
Exactly.
So that's a plus.
We're already, it's hard to fall out of bed when you're already sleeping on the floor.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Other question?
I don't have a question, I just have a
Okay.
comment. Just, I think the key thing is a strategic marketing strategy. Because often somebody's idea, here's the idea, and then it's like, do it.
Yep.
And you just don't have a clean strategy. But if you do take that time and develop it, then I think things can really work.
Yep, I completely agree. And question to the group, what's the difference between a plan and a wish? Whether or not it's written down. So if you don't have a clear written strategy, and it's not something that you've met with your team about, and it's not something for which someone holds you accountable, and it's not something that you adjust from time to time, you have a wish. And you might do well. Maybe you've been doing it this way for a long time and everything's fine, and Chris, I just couldn't handle any more business. God bless you, that's great. But if you're like most of us, and you do need to develop and work a little bit, make a strategy. And again, I did go through it a little quickly. I was cognizant of time. I talked too much in the beginning. But take a look at that and make sure that you have all the components of it. Make sure you sit down and look at it. Hold yourself accountable. Don't beat yourself up if you haven't done it. Everyone's forgiven up till this point. But get started on it. And invest in it as much as you can. The investment may be time. The investment may be a company, I don't know, a company like ours. The investment may be other members of your team, people you know and trust, but get the best plan that you can afford to have. Okay, whatever it is. Scott?
Yeah, I have just a statement too, like, what you were talking about. I'm from New Jersey originally, moved down here 14 years ago.
Red Bank.
No, North Jersey.
Where are you from?
Pompton Lakes.
Pompton Lakes, okay.
Yeah.
Denville, Morris County.
I know where you are.
Good name.
Cy Sims, do you remember Cy Sims? Sims,
Yeah.
he in his commercial every time, where educated consumer is our best customer.
Yep.
I was thinking about this the whole entire thing when you were saying that, and what you're with this content, that's what it is. Where an educated consumer is our best customer.
He was way ahead of his time.
Yes, he was, sir.
Yep. It was education and let people, again, nobody likes to buy. I'm sorry, no one likes to be sold, everyone likes to buy.
Yes.
Great, good. I remember Cy Sims.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Sims Warehouse.
Yes.
Okay. Other questions for the old guy? Again, I want to say thank you. I'm sorry.
I don't have a question, but I just want to mention in terms of this content you're talking about, I don't watch a lot of television, but one of my favorite ads are the ones for that Swifter, you know, I don't know, the thing that you take.
The Swiffer,
to clean your
yeah.
floor. Because they invite people to take themselves and put it right in there, right in the story with your need to use this thing. Why would this thing be valuable in your life? Because they put all sorts of scenarios out of common, regular people. I think that's really effective.
I agree. I think you're absolutely right. Couple housekeeping items. Remember, November 14th, if you've not already signed up, please do. If you got value, we'd love to see you again. If you're brave enough to go to one of these and still come back, good for you. If you know people that may have an interest in it, please bring them along. And thank you to our friends with the York County Convention and Visitors Bureau. They're trying to just make things a little bit better and be a little bit more helpful to you guys, the members. So good for you for looking out for your